corrupt sheriff pushed a helpless cashier, unaware a Navy SEAL was watching close by. The grocery store was doing what it always did late in the evening, fluorescent lights humming, carts rattling, the quiet impatience of people ready to go home. At register 4, a young cashier stood with her shoulders slightly hunched, fingers moving carefully over the keypad. She worked fast, but not fast enough for the man standing on the other side of the counter. The sheriff tapped his fingers against the conveyor belt, loud and deliberate. His uniform was crisp, badge polished, gun resting heavy at his hip like a reminder he didn't need to speak softly. He sighed exaggeratedly when the cashier paused to rescan an item that hadn't registered. "Come on," he muttered. "I'm sorry, sir," she said, voice quiet, eyes never leaving the screen. "It didn't scan the first time." The line behind him shifted. Someone checked their phone. Someone else cleared their throat. The sheriff rolled his eyes and leaned closer, invading her space. "You people always have an excuse," he said loudly enough for others to hear. The cashier froze for half a second, then continued scanning, cheeks flushed. Her hands shook slightly. She was new, everyone knew it. The manager had said so earlier when apologizing for delays. That apology seemed to irritate the sheriff even more. At the end of the aisle, a man stood pretending to read the ingredients on a cereal box. He wasn't really reading. Navy SEAL, mid-30s, casual clothes, still posture. He had noticed the sheriff the moment he raised his voice. He'd noticed the cashier's body language too, the way she folded inward, the way her breathing changed. The sheriff slammed a coin onto the counter. "Is this really that hard?" The cashier looked up, startled. "Sir, I just need—" He didn't wait. He shoved the counter divider forward with unnecessary force, his hand slipping, shoulder bumping into her. It wasn't enough to knock her down, but it was enough. Enough to make the register beep loudly, enough to make her stumble back a step, enough to make the store go quiet. "I said hurry it up," the sheriff snapped. The Navy SEAL put the cereal box down. He walked toward the register, not fast, not slow, calm, purposeful, each step deliberate. People felt it before they saw it. Conversations died. Even the sheriff sensed something shift, turning just as the SEAL stopped a few feet away. "That's enough," the SEAL said. His voice wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. The sheriff turned fully now, annoyed. "This doesn't concern you." "You pushed her," the SEAL replied evenly. The sheriff scoffed. "You threatening an officer?" "No, I'm protecting a civilian." The cashier stood frozen behind the register, eyes wide, heart pounding. No one had ever spoken up for her like that. The sheriff stepped closer, trying to reassert control. "Back away before you regret it." The SEAL didn't move. He simply met the sheriff's stare, unblinking. "You're being recorded," he said quietly. The sheriff glanced around. Phones were up now. Security cameras blinked overhead. His jaw tightened. "You think you're some kind of hero?" he sneered. The SEAL tilted his head slightly. "No, just someone who knows when a line's been crossed." The store manager rushed over, hands raised. "Sir, please." The sheriff cut him off. "Stay out of it." That's when the cashier finally spoke, voice trembling but firm. "Please don't yell." The words landed harder than anything else. The SEAL stepped half a pace forward, not aggressive, just present. "You heard her." For a moment it looked like the sheriff might explode. Then his radio crackled. Someone had already called it in. Backup was on the way. Not for the cashier, for him. His confidence faltered. Sirens approached outside, their distant sound growing louder. The sheriff's shoulders stiffened. He straightened his uniform, trying to regain the image he had lost. 2 patrol officers entered the store, younger, more cautious. They took in the scene. The phones, the shaken cashier, the calm man standing between her and the sheriff. "What's going on?" one asked. The SEAL stepped aside slightly, never turning his back. She was pushed, on camera. The officers looked up at the security domes, then back at the sheriff. Silence stretched. The sheriff opened his mouth, then closed it. For the first time, he wasn't in control of the room. Outside, more lights flashed. Inside, the cashier took a deep breath, realizing her hands had stopped shaking. And the man who had simply been buying groceries stood watch, steady and unmoving, as accountability finally arrived. The sheriff's face had gone pale, but he still tried to speak. This isn't necessary," he stammered, trying to regain control. The patrol officers exchanged glances, clearly unsure who was in charge now. The SEAL didn't say a word. He just stood there, calm, letting the silence speak for him. The cashier straightened in her spot behind the register, still trembling, but there was determination in her eyes now. She realized she wasn't alone. Someone powerful and disciplined was watching over her, someone who knew exactly what to do if the sheriff tried anything again. "Sir," one of the officers said firmly, pointing to the cameras, "you need to step aside. Please place your hands behind your back." The sheriff's pride fought with reality. He shifted his weight, trying to intimidate, but even he knew the evidence was clear. Every shove, every harsh word, every unnecessary movement captured on camera. The SEAL finally spoke, his voice calm, but carrying authority that didn't need to be raised. "You've crossed a line. You're done here." At that moment, more patrol cars arrived outside, lights reflecting off the windows. Backup wasn't just coming, they were already here. The sheriff realized that whatever control he thought he had evaporated in front of everyone. The officers gently but firmly guided him toward the exit. He stumbled slightly, still trying to argue, still trying to regain a shred of dominance. The SEAL followed closely behind, silent, just enough to ensure no further aggression. The cashier watched as the sheriff was escorted out, finally feeling safe. A deep breath left her lungs, a mix of relief, awe, and disbelief. Outside, the SEAL checked on her one last time. "Are you okay?" he asked quietly. I think so," she said, voice shaking but steady. "Thank you." He gave a small nod. "You don't have to thank me. You stood strong. That's what matters." As he walked away toward the exit, the cashier noticed the subtle medals pinned under his jacket, recognition earned through sacrifice, discipline, and courage. He didn't need to say anything else. His presence had already restored order, respect, and justice. The sheriff's actions became the story of the day. Video footage spread online within hours. Comments flooded in, sharing outrage at the abuse and admiration for the SEAL's restraint and discipline. Investigations were launched. Complaints resurfaced. The sheriff was suspended immediately, with his career hanging by a thread. Weeks later, the cashier returned to work. She carried herself differently now, a quiet confidence in her step. She never forgot that night, the night someone with strength, training, and moral courage had shown her that abuse doesn't go unchecked, and that real power belongs to those who protect, not intimidate. The SEAL, he never took credit. He never spoke to reporters. He simply moved on, his mission complete, knowing he had stood up for the helpless, ensured accountability, and reminded everyone that courage isn't about fighting, it's about knowing when to act and when to hold yourself above the chaos. And in that quiet grocery store, the lesson lingered. Injustice may appear powerful, but integrity, restraint, and vigilance always have the final word.